start with a short breathing, mindful breathing exercise, meditations. Then we can try to generate good intention. For example, by thinking, by us coming here together, listening, and engage in discussions, reflecting, contemplating on all of that. May all of this become cause and condition to have a realization of the nature of our mind, and through having understood the nature of mind, to be able to develop the bodhicitta mind. And through the practice of bodhicitta and wisdom, realizing the ultimate nature of our mind, may we be able to achieve our highest potential, fully awakened state. By gradually progressing on 5 paths and 10 bhumis. So we can guide and lead all sentient beings free from their suffering, cause of suffering, to ultimate happiness according to their predisposition, their needs, their level of mind, karma, etc. Okay. So we can do the refuge and bodhicitta prayer. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I pray through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chodam Soke Sonam Sanju Bhadam Dhammi Taki Sheshe Sonam Dola Penje Sangye Doba Sangye Chodam Soke Sonam Sanju Bhadam Dhammi Taki Sheshe Sonam Dola Penje Sangye Doba. So welcome back, everyone. And again, it's good to see you all. And so we will continue from where we have left before. So yeah, we are in verse number 89 today. So here it explains how dharmakaya is something that can be experienced directly by the among Buddha themselves and cannot be experienced directly, conceived or experienced directly by sentient beings, non-Buddha sentient beings, and how they are unable to conceive directly and cannot be expressed by word as it is experienced directly. So sometimes, emptiness, dharmakaya, is something that cannot be expressed by words, cannot be, conceived by the thoughts, or senses, directly. So that is why it is. Free from latent tendency, you are inconceivable. So the dharmakaya, that is free from all the predispositions or tendencies of not only the tendency of the delusion, but also the tendency or obscurations of the knowledge, free from both obscuration or both tendency. So that dharmakaya, you are inconceivable. That dharmakaya cannot be conceived by non-Buddha sentient beings directly as the Buddha perceive or conceive or experience directly by themselves. Samsara latent tendencies, they can be conceived, So samsara that is to be abandoned, and the root or cause of that samsara, the tendency, predispositions, the cause can be, when analyzed and examined, they can be conceived by the ordinary sentient beings. The samsara and the cause of samsara can be conceived by ordinary sentient beings or the sentient beings who are not Buddha, but the dharmakaya that is free from all these tendencies is something that can be conceived directly by Buddha themselves. So that is what dharmakaya. You are completely inconceivable through what could you be realized, So this dharmakaya, even though, at the very beginning, in sentient beings, the dharma, even though dharmakaya is there, but it is kind of impure. Then in the middle, on the path, there's impure and pure within the mind of sentient being, the dharmakaya, the dharmakaya, for example. Yeah, okay. And then at the end, when you achieve Buddhahood, then dharmakaya is completely pure, pure, completely pure. Even though there is that, we are not talking in the nature itself. In the nature, there is pure all the time, but due to temporary conditions, then it can be pure, impure, and pure. Okay, it's like as we have already mentioned before, the water can be polluted, impure, and pure, but the nature of the water is always pure. Okay. Similarly, the nature of dharmakaya is always pure in its nature, but due to other cause and conditions, then at the very beginning is impure. Then in the middle on the path, there's impure and pure, and at the end, when we achieve a result, then it's always pure and completely pure. And that pure dharmakaya, is something, even though there is all these different level of impure, pure, and impure, and pure, and completely pure, but that dharmakaya is something that doesn't arise and disintegrate. There's no arising and being produced and disintegrating. It's not like dharmakaya was not there before and it is being produced. Neither there is no disappearing or disintegrations of that coming and going, coming into being and then disintegrating, going or disintegrating. There is none of that. Dharmakaya is, and dharmakaya is permanent, always there. Therefore, that dharmakaya, you are completely inconceivable. The dharmakaya is completely inconceivable directly by the ordinary sentient beings, through what could be realized. So therefore, what could be realized beyond the entire sphere of speech, so that dharmakaya cannot be expressed by the words as it is experienced directly. The word cannot express that dharmakaya exactly as it is experienced directly. So therefore, it's beyond the entire sphere of speech, outside the range of any senses, and that dharmakaya, cannot be again conceived or perceived by the senses, It's beyond the senses, cannot be perceived by sense faculties or sense consciousness. If that is the case, can dharmakaya not be conceived or perceived or known? Then is to be realized by mental knowing. Yes, it can be perceived, it can be conceived by not the senses, sense consciousness, by mental consciousness, by mental knowing, by mental consciousness. But the sentient beings, even though they can conceive and perceive the dharmakaya with mental consciousness, but they cannot perceive directly, as the Buddha said themselves. They can only see or know the dharmakaya with mental consciousness through inference, through reasoning, logics, and quotations, and so forth. Even though it can be conceived by mental consciousness, but only on that level, but it cannot be conceived and perceived directly as the Buddha perceived themselves or experienced themselves directly. So, and I bow to and praise whatever whatever suitable. So here Nagarjuna saying, I pay homage and bow and praise to whatever suitable meaning, dharmakaya. So when we talk about dharmakaya, we can talk of two dharmakayas. Suitable here meaning either of those dharmakayas, either of those two dharmakayas. So that there are two dharmakaya, the natural dharmakaya and dharmakaya that is free from temporary afflictive emotions. Okay, for example, the emptiness of Buddha's enlightened wisdom, for example, or dharmakaya wisdom. They say dharmakaya wisdom. The emptiness of that wisdom, dharmakaya wisdom, is natural dharmakaya. Okay, that is the natural dharmakaya. The emptiness of the Buddha's wisdom mind. And then the mind itself, the wisdom mind, Buddha's wisdom mind itself, that is free from all the temporary afflictive emotions and all the obscurations, is the other dharmakaya or other cessations. There are two kinds of cessations or dharmakaya. One is natural dharmakaya or cessation, that is the ultimate nature of the mind itself, the wisdom mind itself, or wisdom dharmakaya itself. And then the dharmakaya itself that is free from all the temporary delusion and obscurations. In Tibetan is Lobunanta ki Rangshinamta and Lobunamta. One is free by nature, the emptiness itself, and then that one is free of these temporary afflictive emotions and obscurations. So those two dharmakaya. So he's saying, I bow and praise to whatever suitable, meaning either of those two cessation or either of two dharmakaya. Okay. And then next, it explains about the excellent qualities of the Buddhas and activities of the Buddhas. And before that, then establishing, and in order to have that Buddha's excellent qualities and activities, first you need to achieve that Buddhahood. In order to achieve your Buddhahood, then the previous Buddhas, then empower the Bodhisattvas. Empower the Bodhisattvas. And in order to empower the Bodhisattvas, then the Bodhisattva need to be pure and ripened vessel to get that empowerment, the great empowerment. And so establishing how that the Bodhisattva on the 10 bhumi, the Bodhisattva on the 10 bhumi is ripened and ready to receive that great empowerment to achieve enlightenment. Okay, so establishing the purity of that 10 bhumi bodhisattvas, and that is ripened for that. So that's in this manner of gradual engagement. Okay, so as it is mentioned earlier, how the bodhisattvas gradually progress on the path, from first, depending on what kind of bodhisattvas, whether if you are sharp faculty bodhisattvas, first you have realization of emptiness, then you have bodhicitta mind, and then you enter the first path of accumulation, then you progress path of preparation, then you progress to the path of seeing, and then achieve the first bhumi, and then you progress to the path of meditations, And in the path of meditation, then through the rest of 9 bhumi, you progress from second bhumi to third, fourth, progressively. That is gradual engagement, gradual progressive. In terms of if the bodhisattva is with less sharp faculties, or let's say dull faculties, then first you have bodhicitta mind, then you enter the path of accumulation, and then in the path of accumulation, you have the realization of emptiness, and then through that realization of emptiness and bodhicitta, then you make progress to the path of preparation and path of seeing, and the 10 bhumis, like that. So that is in this manner of gradual engagement. The highly renowned children of Buddhas, the bodhisattvas. Here, I think more than children, I think it might have been better, I think, if it's a child, because it's referring to one particular bodhisattva, the 10 bhumi, the one who is in 10 bhumi. So the bodhisattva who is 10 bhumi, who has come through that gradual progression, manner of gradual engagement, gradual progress, reach that 10 bhumi, through the wisdom of cloud of dharma. So that is why this particular renowned child of Buddha, the bodhisattva, highly renowned child of the Buddhas, is the 10 bhumi, because through the wisdom of cloud of dharma. As we went before, the name of the 10 bhumi is the cloud of the Dharma. As we went through last time with each of those different terms of each of bhumi, and why each of those terms are, why the meaning of each of those terms in relation to each of those bhumi. So the wisdom of the bodhisattvas on the 10 bhumi, the cloud of Dharma, through the wisdom of the bodhisattva on the cloud of the Dharma, which is the 10 bhumi, see phenomena's empty natures, and that the wisdom of the bodhisattvas on 10 bhumi is able to see the ultimate nature or emptiness of phenomena fully or completely, completely or fully, even though, the phenomena empty nature is seen by in the first path and all the bhumis, but here, the 10 bodhisattvas, the wisdom of the 10 bodhisattvas see the dharmakaya, or ultimate nature of the phenomena and the mind fully or completely, fully and completely. Fully and completely. So that is what it means. Okay. And by having seen the phenomena, emptiness or dharmakaya completely, then once their mind are cleansed completely, because of that wisdom that is supported by the incredible bodhicitta mind, then their mind are cleansed completely. Completely of what? The two obscurations. There's no more obscurations. There's no more obscuration. The obscuration completely cleansed, purified, destroyed. So the obscuration of delusions or afflictive emotions, that has been already kind of cleansed when you achieve the 8 bhumi, as we mentioned before. Here, even the imprint led by those delusions, or in other terms, the obscuration knowledge, even the more subtle obscuration, even that has been completely cleansed and purified. And so therefore, the minds, the mind has completely cleansed and purified completely. and they have gone beyond the samsaric depth, So, they have reached the highest point in the, spiritual path before he achieved fully enlightenment and had gone, beyond the samsaric depth, completely free from the samsara, and the very root of all samsara, they have gone beyond the very root of all samsara, the root of the samsara, or the depth of the samsara, or the root of the samsara, So that bodhisattvas, whose minds are completely clean and gone beyond samsara depth, the one in the 10th bhumi, now they are ready to be empowered by the Buddhas, empowered by the Buddhas. And so then next, how they are empowered by the Buddhas, to final goal of achieving the final goal of enlightenment, before achieving the final goal of enlightenment. So then, they rest calmly on the thrones, so calmly on the throne made of precious jewels, on top of that precious jewels, then there is a, giant lotus cushions, very giant lotus, and then surrounded by, and many others, small billions of small lotus petals surrounding, Where is that? Okay. Every day they are surrounded by the lotus of number billions. So there's a main lotus, and then other, surrounded by other billions of lotus. In their many jewel petals light, and with another anther of enthralling beauty. So it is explained that when you achieve the 10 bhumi bodhisattvas, then the bodhisattva 10 bhumi engage into, many thousands different observations or concentrations, and then, it achieve a particular concentrations known as the concentrations of empowering, that is almost similar to the concentration of all-knowing, of the Buddhas, almost similar, if it's not exactly same, almost similar. So they achieve that, and when they achieve that, then then there's appearance of all these billions of those lotus, and on top of those lotus, when the time has come, the time is ripening for the great empowerment, for the great enlightenment. The time when time is ripening comes, then on each of those lotus, then all the bodhisattvas from first bhumi to 9 bhumi, they all come together, and they all kind of pay respect to that 10 bodhisattvas. So there's kind of appearance of that through, of that. And then from that 10 bhumi bodhisattvas, many part of the body, then light rays, the rays of light shines everywhere. And as the rays of light shine, then it, cleans and purify and pacify the suffering of hell realm, hungry ghosts, animals, human, demigod and god realm. So through that shining of rays of light, in all 10 directions, then it pacifies the suffering of all these sentient beings, and then again, as the more rays of light shine, then it invoke, from all 10 directions, all the arhats of hearer and solitary realizers, and then all the bodhisattvas from the first path to the 9 bhumis, they all appears. They all appear, and then, and then they engage in the, concentrations, Again, light or rays radiate from that 10 bodhisattvas, and then, it kind of overpower all the maras of 10 direction. It overpowers, it destroy all the maras of the 10 directions. And then, appear to be ready to receive the greatest empowerments for the greatest enlightenment. At that time, then all the Buddhas see it is a time to empower that bodhisattvas, the great empowerment, ready and ripened to do that, to empower that bodhisattvas to the great enlightenment. And then, the bodhisattvas, all the bodhisattvas, others, up to 9 bhumi, they all see now is ready to that, and then they make offerings, and they pay homage, that, and then from from all the Buddhas, what you call forehead, light radiate, light radiate, and then in all 10 directions, and then, purify all the lower rebirth and destroy the maras, and then, that light dissolve into the 10 bhumi bodhisattvas crown, and then he is being empowered. Then there is kind of the last great empower. So that is what it's talking about. Okay. So then once it's had the great empower, then one achieved the great enlightenment afterward, then it achieved the great enlightenment, And then once you achieve the great enlightenment, then the bodhisattva who achieve that great enlightenment, then achieve the unique positive qualities of the Buddhas, so they all flow with the tenfold powers, so the bodhisattvas. So I don't know whether I need to go with each of those tenfold powers. So this is a very unique qualities of the Buddhas, of knowing, So is the power of knowing what is right, what is wrong, the power of knowing, the subtlety of the karma, For example, the most subtlety of karma, only the Buddhas knows, For such as, when someone experienced something, why that person experienced, what was the karma they created, when they created, with whom they created, in all those digits, that only the Buddhas know, even the great bodhisattvas. They can understand the karma more kind of grossly, but not in that kind of stages. When, how, where, and which time, all of that. So knowing that is another Buddha's, and the quality of knowing all the different predispositions of each individual sentient beings, knowing each individual sentient beings, interest, and knowing the power of knowing, the faculties of different sentient beings, supreme faculty or sharp faculty, and dull faculty, and so forth. And knowing the power of knowing the right path, the right method to all sentient beings or individual sentient beings, and then the power of knowing, all the past lives of each and every sentient beings, and knowing the power of knowing, each of sentient beings death and how they die, and knowing the all sentient beings birth in all futures and past birth, and the knowing the being free from all the obscurations or the contaminations. So those are the 10-fold power, overflow with the 10-fold power, immerse within their fearlessness, and there are 4 kinds of fearlessness. Again, Buddha's unique qualities in terms of proclaiming. So when you achieve fully enlightenment, there's a fearless of proclaiming that you have abandoned all the obscurations. Fearless of proclaiming of that. The fearless of proclaiming that you have actualized all the positive qualities of knowing everything. The fearless of proclaiming that such as attachment, all the delusions are the very root of the suffering, root of the samsaras. And also fearless in proclaiming such as the 37 harmony practice with the enlightenment are the method, are the way, and the path to enlightenment. So those kind of for fearlessness in proclaiming that, so that is what immersed within their fearlessness, that kind of for fearless. Never straying from the inconceivable Buddha Dharma without reference points. Again, knowing the Buddha Dharma, inconceivable Buddha Dharma, the dharmakaya. So inconceivable Buddha Dharma is the dharmakaya, as we mentioned before, and never straying from that without reference points, because they are experience and realize that directly, experience it directly. So when you experience directly, there's no need of reference point because you realize directly. And once you realize that, when you achieve Buddha, then there is no degenerating of that. Through having achieved it or not having achieved it, there's no degenerations of any of that. So that is some of the qualities of the Buddha. Once you achieve the Buddha, and also, through all their actions of outstanding conduct. So that Buddha, before they achieve that Buddha, while on the path, while on the bodhisattva path, through engaging in their virtuous actions, outstanding virtuous actions or contact through body and speech and mind, such as, cultivating true love, compassion, bodhicitta. Out of that bodhicitta mind, engaging the practice of generosity, engaging in practice of moral discipline, engaging in the practice of patience, engaging in joyous effort virtues, medical concentration, so forth. So they're married, they create marriage, marriage. So through those practice, they create and complete the collection of the marriage. And their wisdom are complete. And through the practice of having a realization of, impermanent nature of phenomena, realizing the nature of samsara, nature of sufferings, and through the realizing the ultimate nature of the self and all phenomena, the emptiness of all phenomena, through that, then they have complete the wisdom, all this. So through that, then they have completed both the merit through those outstanding contact or practice. Such through those different practice, outstanding different practice contact, then they collect and complete the collection of merit and wisdom. And through that, having completed two collections, the collection of merit and wisdom, then they achieve this Buddhahood, with the dharmakaya and rupakaya body, and with the rupakaya, with all the enlightened marks, such as 30 major and 32 major and 80 minor enlightened mark or signs, with that. And then being gathered by retinue of endless, countless disciples of all the bodhisattvas on all 10 bhumis, on different paths, and by the arhat and those on the path. So that, and then giving example, this full moon is surrounded everywhere by the star that are their retinue. So like, in the full moon, in a clear day, in a clear night, full moon that is surrounded by the retinue of billions of stars. Similarly, that both sattvas, when they achieve fully enlightenment, then in that full moon, then it is surrounded by all these, stars of billions of stars of retinue of disciples. And the next one is empowering the 10 bodhisattvas as the crowning, like the crown prince who is going to be the king, so who is going to be Buddha next time, so it's kind of crowning through the empowerment. So that is what it is, in the sun that is Buddha's hand, stainless jewels shine their light. So from when the bodhisattvas on 10 bhumis, then again, as it mentioned earlier, when they achieve that, then they engage in many thousands of concentrations, and then, there's appearance of many things, and like that. So then when it sees it is already through the sun. And so, Buddha crowning that, stainless, so from the hand, like the sun, stainless jewels or shine or beams of lights, through empowering the eldest children's, they bestow empowerment on them, So, for example, so they empower the bodhisattvas. And then after you achieve enlightenment, again, you are empowered and crowned to be the, for example, when Buddha Shakyamuni, left the Aganishta or Tushita, so, to come to the world, he crowned, empowered and crowned the material Buddha to the next. So the material Buddha will be the next coming Buddha as to the world when it is a time to come. So it's like empowering or crowning the next of that. Similarly, even if you achieve that and crowning that, to be the next in charge or maybe to benefit sentient beings. The main thing is, that, as we mentioned before, one of the difference between, as I mentioned last week, the activities of the 10 bhumis of bodhisattvas almost equal like Buddha's activities. Okay. Especially during the post-meditations. The activities of the bodhisattvas, 10 bhumi bodhisattva activities during the 10 post-meditation is almost equal like Buddha's activities. But they cannot have that kind of countless activity. They cannot engage when you are in deep meditations or meditative equipoise. Whereas when you achieve Buddhahood, then there is no meditative equipoise or post-meditation. They are inseparable. While you are in a deep meditation, meditative equipoise, you are able to perform all the activities. While you are performing all the different activities of helping and benefiting sentient beings, at the same time you are in meditative equipoise simultaneously at the same time. And so that is what, while Buddhas, once you achieve Buddha, while you are never away from deep concentrations, in meditative equipoise, while you are always in deep meditative concentration and never away from that, you're always in meditative concentration. At the same time, you are able to manifest, at the same time you are able to manifest as sambhogakaya forms. At the same time, you are able to manifest as a nirmanakaya form. And you are able to manifest through the different manifestations. You are able to lead and guide sentient beings according to their needs while you are in a deep meditative concentration. So you're profound. And so, that is here, it is crowning and blessing to be able to do that,
Geshe?
Yeah.
Amy Kranz has a question.
Yes, please.
No, I'm sorry. That was a mistake.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. And now next one is how the Buddhas help the sentient beings in the samsara through their enlightened activities. Abiding in this yoga that is so great, so the Buddhas, having perfected the practice of, karma abiding, karma abiding and special insight, while they have perfected this yoga that is so great, they have perfected, completed, all this, that. And while, they are in meditative equipoise all the time, while they are deep meditative equipoise all the time, at the same time, simultaneously with the divine eyes, they are able to see, the sentient beings and their suffering and problems and what need to be done to help to liberate them, So with that divine eyes, they behold the worldly beings, the worldly sentient beings devised by the ignorance who have not understood, recognize and discover their own dharmakaya, their own Buddha nature, their own potentials, and due to not that, being ignorance about that, those ignorance, and due to being ignorance of that dharmakaya, the ultimate nature of the mind, then, engaging, due to that ignorance, then afflictive emotion arises, and due to those afflictive emotions, then they engage into the, unwholesome actions or karma, and through that, then, they are distorted and terrified by the sufferings, those sentient beings, due to that ignorance and the delusions, who have been distorted and who are experiencing, the suffering of pain, suffering of change, or suffering of all pervasive, or one of them all the time, constantly day and night, distorted and experiencing those sufferings. So through their divine eye, they see that. The Buddhas see that all the time. While they are in, deep material concentration or yoga of deep meditation concentration in dharmakaya, and through that, then, without any effort, effortlessly, from their bodies, the bodies of the Buddhas, without effort, light rays are beaming forth, without thinking of helping and benefiting them, without any intentions, without any effort, naturally light rays of beaming forth in all 10 directions, and open the wide gates for those, by, through that lights, and then they show them the path according to the need of those different individuals, show them the path, show them how to free themselves from their own delusions, from their own ignorance, how to free them from their own problem and suffering by getting rid of the root of those suffering and problem, the delusion and ignorance. So showing them according to their individual predisposition, individual needs, individual benefit, through the teachings such as Four Noble Truth, teaching such as Four Dharma Seals, teaching through, the three turning wheel of the Dharmas, three vehicles and so forth, according to what they need. And through that, open wide the gate for those who are engulfed in the ignorance gloom, and then they free through that, they open through the gate of that and lead them and guide them by showing the light, the path, the way to free them from their own suffering and the cause of the sufferings. So, And next is, again, guiding, inspiring, encouraging, showing the path according to the need of different individual interests and predispositions. Those who have the inclinations or lineage to achieve, those who have the inclination towards the Bodhisattva path or Mahayana path, their guide, teach them, lead them to the Mahayana path. Those who do not have inclinations for the Mahayana path at the moment, those who are not ready for the Mahayana path at the moment, those who are not ready for the Bodhisattva path, but who might be ready to be on the, hero and fully realizer path to achieve arhat arhat or individual liberations. So according to them, whatever their inclination, predispositions, encouraging them, showing them the path, helping them to do that. And so that is where it is held those in nirvana with reminder and into nirvana without reminder pass. So for those who have inclination towards the individual liberation and arhat on the hero path, then encouraging and showing the path to achieve nirvana with reminder, and finally nirvana without reminder. Okay, and there is a difference between. There are slightly different explanations of nirvana with reminder and nirvana without reminder according to different Buddhist school of thoughts. But in generally, is nirvana with the reminder is, those who have achieved liberation or nirvana, but who still have this body, that is a result of their previous karma and delusions, So they have achieved nirvana because they do not have any more delusions. When their mind is free from the delusions, then you become arhat, when you achieve nirvana. When your mind is clear of all the delusions, when your mind is free of all the delusions, then that person's or that individual or sentient beings achieve arhat and achieve nirvana. But still, the body is still a body from the past karma that you had before you achieved nirvana. So this body is a result of previous karma and previous, even though you do not have any more negative delusion anymore, but it is still this body itself the result of that. So that is why it's called nirvana with a reminder. Still, you have this body that is that is from the previous delusion and karma. And then when the arhat, when they leave this body, when they leave this body, then they achieve nirvana without reminder. Now they do not have this any more body that is a result of their previous contaminated karma and the delusions. There is no more reminder of that. There's no more of that. So that is nirvana without reminder. When one is given up, when one is free from such body, and then that is nirvana without reminder. So that is the kind of the final goal for those who are on the path to individual liberations. Individual liberations. That is for the final goals. But here the actual nirvana is a mind that's free from any stains. So then, is that true nirvana, nirvana with reminder and nirvana without reminder, is that the actual highest nirvana? Is that the real actual nirvana, highest nirvana? It's not. Because the actual real perfect nirvana or complete nirvana is nirvana without abiding. That is the buddhahood. You know, the term you find very often in the Mahayana's scriptures is sometimes you find non-abiding nirvana. And when you see that term non-abiding nirvana, it means the Buddhahood. When you see the term nirvana with reminder and without reminder, it refers to the nirvana or individual liberation, not the Buddhahood. Okay, and so even someone who achieve nirvana with reminder and without reminder, still they have not achieved the most perfect nirvana, the highest level of nirvana. The highest level of nirvana is non-abiding nirvana. And you achieve that's here the actual nirvana or the highest nirvana, non-abiding nirvana, is achieved when this mind is free from any stains. So here, any stains means not only it has to be free from the stain of delusions, but it has to be free from also the subtle stain of subtle obscurations. Okay, so not only your mind is free from the delusions, obscuration of delusions, but when your mind is free from even the imprint led by those delusions, known as the obscuration of knowledge, or the subtle obscurations or the stain. When you are free from that, then when your mind is free from all the obscuration, all the stains, then one achieve the actual non-abiding nirvana. And non-abiding meaning, when we use the term non-abiding, it has a meaning of non-abiding in the streams. And there are two extremes, okay? One extreme is samsara. Okay, so it is non-abiding in samsara, free from the samsara. That is one extreme. The other extreme is being individual, bliss out in individual liberations. That's another extreme. When you are bliss out in individual liberation, then you cannot help and benefit other sentient beings. So for a Mahayana practitioner, for a bodhisattva, who is on bodhisattva path, who have promised, who have made a commitment to benefit and help sentient beings, that is obscuration, that is another extreme. And so therefore, also that is not abiding in that extreme of individual liberation. So free from two extreme, and then, and so that is what it meaning of non-abiding. Not abiding in stream of samsara, nor is abiding in the stream of individual liberations. Okay, so yeah, and for those who are in nirvana with first reminder and then later non-reminder, when the time comes, when the karma ripens, when their conditions come ready for them to enter the bodhisattva path, Mahayana path, then Buddha will wake them up, through again sending a radiance of light and kind of wake them up from their blissful concentration for eons and in that. They wake them up and then remind them they haven't achieved the highest goal. Still, even though they have achieved that nirvana, but still they have still they have not abandoned all the sin, they have not achieved all the positive qualities, and then they, guide them on the both of the path, and then eventually they also achieve enlightenment or fully enlightenment. So then through that, all sentient beings are guided and led to enlightenment, directly, indirectly, so. So, so once you achieve non-abiding nirvana, the actual nirvana, the most complete, perfect nirvana of non-abiding nirvana, then out of compassion, bodhicitta, then again, the purpose of achieving enlightenment, is to help and benefit sentient beings. That is the only reason that the bodhisattvas want to achieve fully enlightenment. The only reason they want to achieve enlightenment, the only reason they put effort to achieve that enlightenment, so they can be more benefit, more help to more sentient beings, and so on. And so once you achieve that enlightenment, then, the purpose is to help and benefit sentient beings. And the way to help and benefit sentient beings is mainly by showing the path. As Buddha himself said, in one of the sutras, I cannot take your pain like that when you are pricked by a thorn, that I can take it away. Neither I can wash your all obscuration, negative karma, delusions that are the root of your pain, as though that we can take shower and wash our dirts. Neither I can wash all that. Neither I can pass, like where I can pass glass, to you, same glass. Neither I can pass my realizations to you, like I cannot give and pass my realization to you. But how can I help you? Is by showing the path. By showing the path. The way I can help you is by showing the path. And in another sutra, he explained, I've shown you the path to liberations or to enlightenment. Whether you are able to achieve liberation or enlightenment is not on me, now it is on you. It's not on me, now it is on you. Whether you follow the path that I've shown you or not, So from many different sutras and all of that, what Buddha's explain clear is the way for him to help sentient beings. The best way to help, the real way to help is by showing the path. And so therefore here, so according to the different sentient beings, as I mentioned before, there are different predisposition, interests, inclinations, their state of minds, there according to their faculties, karma reckoning and so forth. According to that, then teaching, different teaching on non-being of all beings, meaning teaching on selflessness, selflessness, and within the selflessness there are many different levels of selflessness. Selflessness of permanent beings, selflessness of self-sufficient beings, the selflessness of a subject and object, the selflessness of inherent existence. So by showing those different selflessness according to different sentient beings or disciples' mindset and their inclination and so forth, showing that non-being of all beings. This nature is its sphere, and that is the nature of all those phenomena, the selflessness is the nature of those phenomena. And when we understand selflessness, they can be understood on many different levels, gross level, subtle level, more subtle levels. For those who are ready to hear this more subtle level of selflessness, it is taught. Those who are not ready to hear the more subtle level of selflessness, but who are ready to hear gross level of selflessness, then the gross level of selflessness is taught. And for those who are not even ready to the most subtle and subtle, but who are only ready for very, very gross level of selflessness, then such very, very gross level of selflessness is taught, according to that. And slowly, slowly helping them to from understanding gross level to more subtle level and then more subtle level of the selflessness. That is again through those kind of skillful means, helpful. That's how it does, And the mighty Bodhisattva seeing this is fully stainless dharmakaya, and that, the ultimate Bodhisattva. The ultimate Bodhisattva, the ultimate nature of the mind, that is selfless, empty of inherent self or inherent existence, and that is the fully stainless dharmakaya, Even though I have kind of a little bit, according to some commentaries, when you read some commentaries, I wonder whether this, even this Bodhisattva is the right word. It could be Bodhisattva. The mighty Bodhisattva seeing it is the fully stainless dharmakaya. Because in Tibetan word, Changju is same, and Changju Samba, sometimes they make everything abbreviated, and sometimes pa is missing. And when pa is missing, then it might be Bodhisattva. And sometimes people might have translated, there's a lot of misunderstanding that because the way it is composed in not only Tibetan, also in Sanskrit, because it's Sanskrit, they seem to abbreviate, to make it shorter, and especially when they're trying to make it kind of verses, then they make short, and sometimes that can be misunderstood. And so in that sense, if you say it's a bodhisattva, then the mighty bodhisattva seeing it, and the what mighty bodhisattva seeing it, what is that it? Is the ultimate nature of the phenomena, the dharmakaya, and that is the bodhisattva that see that is the fully stainless dharmakaya, the ultimate nature of the self, ultimate nature of the mind phenomena that the bodhisattvas see is that is the fully stainless dharmakaya. So it could be understood that too, So it is according to that, then according to that, so then it says in this Nagarjuna explained, that the sharp faculty, bodhisattvas, realize the emptiness first, and then the bodhicitta. This is one of the. And then next is the next is the explanation of the effortless spontaneous activities of the Buddhas, effortless, natural, spontaneous activities of the Buddhas. In this stainless dharmakaya, the sea of wisdom find its place, So while, as I mentioned before, and according to as this text, as we mentioned before, while the Buddhas is always deeply meditation dharmakaya in meditative equipoise, at the same time, within that, there's sea of wisdom, such as 21 wisdom, 21 different type of wisdom and countless wisdoms, finding its place, and from out of that, those wisdom, then manifesting effortlessly manifesting whatever is the best for individual sentient beings and their needs, manifesting, and for those higher level bodhisattvas, countless sambhogakaya forms and guiding teachings, leading them, for those ordinary sentient beings who was ripened, manifesting effortlessly, without any thought of manifesting, without any, for us, we have, I need to help. There is thought, the motivations, the thought, I want to help. I need to do this and that. There is that motivations, that kind of thought. And if for Buddhas, there is no such thought, I need to help. Everything is just manifest. Everything is just spontaneous, that without any, just whatever needed is just manifest. Whatever is needed is just manifest, And and then, for those sentient beings who ordinary bodhisattvas, not high level Arya bodhisattvas and other ordinary sentient beings, but karmically ripened, then they manifest in a different form of nirmanakaya, such as supreme nirmanakaya, artistic nirmanakaya, birth nirmanakaya, and whatever is needed, when it is most beneficial to help someone by manifesting as animal to help. When it is best needed as coming as something, let's say water to manifest, to help, manifesting as the waters. Whatever is most beneficial for individual sentient beings to benefit, to help, to guide, to lead them, manifesting in that without any effort, without any thought, without any intention, just according to what they need. So like the example giving, like the variety gate of jewels, being welfare is fulfilled from it. Like for example, in the oceans, you could get many kind of, corals and all kind of this the different shape, different color, different size, all of them, even though they have no intention to person, I want to, the ocean have no thoughts or intention to make this shape, that shape, this size, this color, this colors, it just happens to do cause and condition, naturally it happens. And similarly, in that way, spontaneously, effortlessly, whatever is needed is manifest, and through that manifestation, fulfilling, the welfare and the well-being of all sentient beings according to their needs. So that is the spontaneous or effortless activities of the Buddhas. And this completes the Praise of Dharmadhatu composed by the great Acharya Nagarjuna. It was translated by Indian Upadhyaya, Krishna Pandita, and Tibetan translator Chulam Gyalwa. So, and if you see it in all the translation, you always say two translators, Tibetan translator and Indian translator. And that was the rules at the time the kings of the Tibet met. So to make it so that it become more authentic and less mistake. a Tibetan translator who is expert in Sanskrit, and Indian Sanskrit translator who is expert in Tibetan. They both are expert in both language, but they both come from different cultures. So it is when you come from different culture, you know, for a Tibetan who is even expert in English, if they don't know language and all the background of that, you could make some mistake. Even in terms of your English itself is even so well, because there's a lot of things that come. So I think that is another I think the kindness of those kings that show that those translations are more accurate, more accurate to the original. So there is less chance of making mistake, So with that, we complete. So whether we, again, I think it's really wonderful to see in this text, short text, when Nagarjuna explained, of course, the main subject being the Buddha nature, Tathagata Garbha, and Dharmadhatu, but explaining the whole path from the gradual path with each of first path, and then all the 10 bhumis up to enlightenment, and after enlightenment, your qualities, your realizations, and how enlightened beings help and benefit sentient beings. So it is, in a way, it is really nice. It covers the whole path, complete path and whole path. Yeah. Okay. So any questions, comments? Does anyone has anything to share or questions?
I don't have a question, Geshe-la, but I just wanted to thank you for giving such an amazing teaching. I feel like I have to go back now to the February teachings or January teachings to remember the first 3/4 of the text.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much packed into it.
Yeah, definitely there is, because this whole path that he explained here is, studying the monasteries for 10 years, this topic, In Madhyamika, Madhyamika is mainly on emptiness, the main focus in emptiness, and Dharmadhatu, the main subject here, is, like 3 to 4 years, then the ornamental realizations, again, is 6 to 7 years. And it is all about the bodhicitta and path, first path, second path, and 10 bhumis, all of that. So in a way, so of course, this is very, very kind of contains. Then if you read Chandagiri's commentaries, then it's much more. And then if you read the commentary of Chandagiri by Tibetan master, is more. And then the commentary to that commentary, so then it becomes 10 years of studies of this whole kind of the whole subject that is covered here. Yeah. And still, even after 10 years, sometimes you still have some difficulties in certain point. Certain point you still have difficulties. In certain point, there is a different interpretations, different understanding what that means. Not everyone is able to come to same consensus saying everyone agree that is how it is. That just show that is constant kind of learning, studying, and improving, and hopefully, clearing some of the earlier misunderstanding or not fully understood, and getting more and more understanding, more and more deeper understanding, and more profound understanding, and that is always the hope. And yeah, okay.
Geshe, quick technical question.
Yes, please.
This had to do with the last comment that you made about the translation. So you have a Tibetan expert who's expert in Sanskrit, and then you have a Sanskrit expert. Is that Sanskrit expert Indian? So an Indian?
Yes.
I see.
So it is an Indian persons who is expert in both language. Both translators are expert in both language, but one is Indian with the Indian background, culture background, and one is Tibetan with a different background cultures.
Right.
So that it is always much more helpful when you have that. Then instead of someone, even though they might be expert in both language, but if they don't have the background of the culture, understanding of that, then sometimes it might not be as accurate the way they put it, Yeah. Yes, please.
Geshe, could you the distinction between Dharmadhatu and dharmakaya, could you help me recall what the differences and similarities are between those two terms?
Yeah, those terms we have to understand context. Here sometimes they use as the same. For emptiness, sometimes you use dharmakaya, you use very often for the emptiness, also dharmadhatu. So dharmadhatu is actually more close to the emptiness. There are different terms for the emptiness it's emptiness, but they have a different chewing. So in English, I think suchness, dharmadhatu, suchness, emptiness, selflessness, all those different terms that we use have kind of same meaning. And here also sometimes you see dharmakaya is used also for the term for that. But generally when we talk about dharmakaya, then we talk about something of enlightened, So because dharmakaya generally, as I spoke before, there are two kinds of dharmakaya. To become more precise, okay, with the term, more precise with the term. One is wisdom dharmakaya. Wisdom dharmakaya is the enlightened wisdom of the Buddha, okay, enlightened beings, okay. The Buddha's enlightened wisdom mind is the wisdom dharmakaya, okay. And then the emptiness, the ultimate nature of that wisdom, of enlightened wisdom of Buddha, is the other dharmakaya, the natural dharmakaya, okay. So normally when we try to be more precise in general term, dharmakaya is referring to either Buddha's enlightened wisdom or the emptiness of that enlightened wisdom.
Okay.
Even though here sometimes in this context, sometimes it is used for the emptiness, to explain the emptiness, yeah. But in general, I think the more kind of, in general, that is referring to more of the Buddha's wisdom mind and the emptiness of the Buddha wisdom mind. In generally, when we talk about dharmakaya, yeah.
Thank you.
So one of the problems is that I think that is why studying becomes important, because the term can change into context, different context. It doesn't have always same meaning, and that can be confusing if someone has not studied, and they can misunderstand it because they might have heard from one context, but not from other contexts. And then if you take it only from that, so then that can be sometimes misunderstanding or confusion. Yeah. Yes. Yes, Amy, you have something?
I
Say?
just wanted to say that I felt that in this last presentation, I just felt it come alive. And it just felt like you gave us so much of it. So I want to thank you. That's all.
Thank you. So maybe from tomorrow you might be able to do effortless, spontaneous, sending all the radiant light. You let me know when
I'll try, Geshe-la.
you let me know when you started to send the radiation of the light, so I can feel it.
Why would I have to let you know, Geshe-la? You will feel it.
That is the point. Yeah, that is the point. Yeah, effortless and spontaneous. So yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. So again, so we can do the dedications. Okay. Do you have the, yeah. So again, I think I'm going to chant in Tibetan. So you can join me in chanting Tibetan, or you can recite in English, whatever you feel more connected, comfortable. Yewadi nyodota lama sangye do kyone do chi chang ma le ba e sa la gue ba sho chang cho sen cho rin bo che ma ke pa na ke kyu chi ke wa nyam ba me ba yang kong le kong do ke wa sho. So, and now, George, when are you going to France?
So France?
No, the other George. So we have two George, Georges.
Well, first I'm going to Copan. I'm going to
Oh.
Kathmandu on Friday.
Okay.
Friday.
This coming Friday.
Yes, I'm going to Copan and then to Laudo. And then I'll be back in New York on the 20th.
Have you been to Copan before?
Yes, I have. I have with like 5 years ago, I had gone with Venerable Amy.
Okay, okay.
So yeah, going back to where I already been, but I'm delighted to go back.
Yeah. So I will be there in my spirit. So it's a good time to be there. So yeah, enjoy. Hopefully you have a wonderful pilgrimage to Copan, Lauda, and everywhere.
Yes.
So everyone, thank you.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Will you be coming to New York next year?
Yeah, well, maybe end of next year. I don't know, I have not scheduled anything so far. Of course, I will be gone for 6 months after here. My plans, we haven't confirmed, but we're working on schedule to Europe and Australia and then go to Nepal. And then I will be back by end of May. Then I will be here till end of November. So then after that, I haven't planned anything. So that could be after November, end of November. So it will be December. That could be where I might possibility of traveling and teaching North America. If I do that, then that will be only after that. It could be that, or maybe I might go to Nepal first and come and do later part. So nothing is kind of, I've already planned for 6 months now.
Yeah.
Or planning in that process. Yeah.
We
But
look forward.
definitely, I do need to come there. That's been a while.
It's been a very long time.
Yeah. The pandemic hit just before I came to New York.
You were supposed to
Yeah.
come. Yeah, yeah,
A week or something before that.
exactly.
Yeah. I was already traveling some part of the United States, and it started to get quite bad, and yeah. Okay,
Wonderful.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunny.
Thank you,
Good
Geshe-la.
night. Thanks, Sunny.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone, for organizing.
you.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you, Sunny. Thank you, everyone.
Nice to see you, George.
Thank you.
You all.
Yeah,
Bye.
good to see you, George.
Bye-bye.
You.